could go back in time, I wouldn't have bought this car. The money was wired over, and that's when all communication stopped.
Hurricane Dorian, now a Category 2 storm, strengthening this morning.
My car is gonna end up being underwater. Long story short, kind of got scammed buying this car.
SALVAGE!
Welcome back everyone to Savage Garage. My name is Jimbo, and this is, as you guys know, my Maserati Quattroporte.
Oh, Jimbo.
The last time you guys saw this car was on Savage Rally. That actually took place back in September. And this thing did well, you know, despite the video that we made of it almost burning itself to the ground. And it didn't...
Shut it off. Yeah, shut it off. Yeah, it's been off for a while. Turn the fan on. Well, if it was off for a while, you should have let me know.
I got smoke out the hood. I got smoke out the hood.
It didn't actually burn to the ground like a lot of people thought it did. You know, they just clicked off the video once they saw smoke, and you know, I understand it is a Maserati. There was a coolant hose between the motor and the transmission. So if you remember from the video when we towed it away and we poured coolant in it, you see it dripping out, and Eric says, you know, it looks like it's leaking out of the trans. Well, it wasn't. It was actually leaking out from behind the motor. The car is fine now. It's been driving fine since. It hasn't had any issues. You guys have heard the story of what happened to the car on Savage Rally, but what you didn't see or didn't hear was the story of me buying this car, because that in itself was a very interesting tale. Long story short, kind of got scammed buying this car, and the fact that it's been as bulletproof as it has, I'm going to be honest with you, is more surprising than usual. It was interesting. So in order for me to tell this story, let's rewind a little bit back to about Monterey Car Week.
So before we get to that, it's time for Randy Savage's favorite part of the day. Let's get paid. Today's video sponsored by Anson Belts. Anson Belts is a holeless belt micro adjustability system. It has 30 different options for 1/4 inch apart settings. These custom belts are a one size fit all. You can actually cut the belt down to your own fitting. What's also great is that you can mix and match all the different styles of belts and buckles. Anson Belts is a 100% family-owned business. It also has a lifetime warranty, so if you ever have a defect with your bolt, you contact Anson Belts and they take care of you. So these belts are really solid. They're strong, see? Hurry and click the link in the descriptions to get a box set of 3 straps and 2 buckles, or 3 buckles and 2 straps. That's 6 belt combinations, all for $100. You're gonna love these belts. So check out in the link in the description, Anson Belts. Find yours today.
Yeah, I got it.
You got that.
Now, when I was at Monterey Car Week, I had been talking to Randy about possibly purchasing some car that you guys would see on the channel, and this car was exactly what I was looking for. There was about 95 pictures on the original listing. The car looked beautiful in the photos. It had a tan interior, the paint was shimmering. It was a one-owner car. Very stupid, but an option I wanted on this car was I wanted the heated, cooled, and massaging seats. A cool feature to have, something to tell your friends that your, you know, sub $20,000 exotic has massaging seats. I wanted it. The only option this car didn't have that I really wanted was the rear seats. You could have gotten the option for heated, cool, and massaging. Very rare option. There aren't many of them like that. That and also the picnic tables, come to think of it. This car doesn't have picnic tables. And also, I didn't want one with too many miles. Called up the owner, and the story that he had behind the car was this car was a present bought right off the showroom floor by a celebrity who unfortunately passed, and the wife, it was gifted to the wife. And essentially, when the husband passed, it was harder for her to drive. And as somebody who has a lot of sentimental value for things, I completely understand that. He was telling me, you know, he had the original window sticker, all the original manuals, instructions, you know, all the documentation when the car was originally bought. The story he told about the car, it made sense, and I said, all right, well, you know what? Let's take it for a PPI. And that is where the first red flag came. Now, when I asked him for a PPI, and getting a PPI done on one of these cars is not unusual. Most people who buy exotics, to my knowledge, like 90% of them will get a PPI done, whether it's a $10,000 exotic or a $100,000 exotic. I asked him if I could take it to a local Maserati dealership. Any normal Maserati dealership, there's at least one tech there that will typically know these cars and was around them when they were originally released back in like 05, 06 in the States. He eventually said, you know, the closest one is like half an hour away, and he said, hey, there is a shop that's right next door, and you know, they do all of the mechanic work for my cars that I sell, and you know, he's a separate business from me, he's reliable, he's reputable, there's not going to be any bias towards me just because I know him. Like, he was reassuring me of all this, and that was a good thing to do. But if there's anything I've learned in car sales, is the more they try to reassure you about something, the more likely it is that they're lying. And I said, you know what? In terms of, you know, time and everything else checks out, sure. Let's take it there, let's see what they say about the car. Now here's something I found out that neglected to tell me. However, if I had looked a little bit more online, I would have figured this out. This place that was right next door was literally right next door. It was in the same building. Like, all they had to do was open up a door and you're in the shop. He didn't tell me that, and neither did the guy running the shop either. He said the tires were dry rotted and they all needed to be replaced. He said also right above the steering wheel it was starting to swell, and that just comes from age. The executive GT badge on the driver's door was missing. And to this day, I still don't have that badge actually. Essentially what we came to was he was going to put all new tires on the car, he was going to replace the emblems that were missing, he was going to service the car because the car needed a brake flush, I remember actually. Now we agreed on the price, he sent me over the bill of sale, he sent me over the invoice, the money was wired over, and that's when all communication stopped. So I'd say about 3 or 4 days went past after I had gotten back now from Monterey. So since the wire was sent, this might have been 5 or 7 days. And I hadn't heard anything back from him. You know, I'd been texting him like, what's going on? Where are the tires? Like, you know, what's the status? You know, I'm getting a little bit nervous, and I start looking more and more into and I start to realize that long story short, I made a mistake buying from. If I could go back in time, I wouldn't have bought this car. Unfortunately has a history from the Better Business Bureau online and also from Google reviews of just magically dropping off the face of the earth when money comes into his account. I don't know if you remember, but right around Monterey Car Week, that was when Hurricane Dorian was coming through Florida.
Hurricane Dorian, now a Category 2 storm, strengthening this morning, threatening to hit Florida as a major Category 4 hurricane. Now,
inevitably it ended up missing, but obviously we didn't know that going into it. I just wanted the car out of there before this hurricane, and we're starting to get close enough to the date where I don't know if that's going to happen. Like, at one point I call him, and he finally, of all times I call him, he texts me back and says, oh, well, you know, I'll get back to you a little bit later today. I'm boarding up my business. That's like, I mean, I have all these things are going through my head. Like, I'm here, I'm boarding up my business. I'm like, all the windows are going to go out. It's going to flood everywhere. All the cars are going to be gone. Like, my car is going to end up being underwater. And finally, he picks up the phone and says, oh yeah, you know, my guy who's going to get tires done on it. This is all nonsense, by the way. He only has one other person working for him, which is the secretary, who ended up blocking my number anyway. He's giving me this spiel about, oh, my guy, you know, he hasn't gotten back to me. Like, I'm sorry, you know, I ghosted you. Like, I've had like family issues to deal with, and, you know, with this hurricane coming up. And he finally says to me, well, I'll ship them to you. I'm like, okay. At this point, I'm just saying okay just to make something happen, because, you know, I've got no other choice. Finally, the date gets set for picking up the car, and, you know, I'm asking him, you know, if you could, because at this point I trust the car shipper more than the dealer. I tell him, listen, you know, because he's telling me I'm going to FedEx the title and the window sticker and, you know, all the original instruction manuals, and that's actually important, the instruction manuals anyway, for one particular thing, which is the radio code in these cars. Just like 90s cars that have radio codes, so does this one. And if you don't have the radio code, the radio doesn't work, and the radio code needs to be entered every time the battery gets disconnected. So if you don't have the radio code, it's not like you can just go online and, you know, find like the 4 different codes that it is. Each code is keyed per car from the factory. So the only way to get that code is you call your local Maserati dealership, and then they call like Maranello, Italy, or wherever it is to get said code. They look it up by the VIN. It's not like, there's not like 20 of them. Maybe there are, and just Maserati doesn't tell you that. But he ended up leaving both keys, thankfully, because there were 2 keys. He left both keys in the drop box of his business. So I organized transport through Eric, and that got taken care of without a problem. The car shipper picked the car up, and through the night on, I believe it was Labor Day, that the car got delivered. But he drove the car up all the way through the night, and the car did arrive. Now, once the car arrived, believe it or not, Razzle, I remember the guy's name, he was perfectly on time, and it was awesome, like on the dot. And you know, when he unloaded the car was in great shape. I mean, it was, on first glance, it was everything that was promised. And you know, the car ran fine. You know, there were this, like the standard like go to dealer TPMS lights that were on the car, which of course he didn't disclose. But with these cars, that's pretty normal. These cars are kind of known for throwing like TPMS lights due to the fact that they're very sensitive to any kind of voltage change, the battery going down. But everything else was fine. You know, everything worked. The AC worked. The heat worked. What really blew me away was literally all the electronics in the car work. I was expecting something to be mechanically wrong with the car. It didn't run right. There was some weird vibration, whatever. Like, I was expecting something much more expensive, to be frank. The Executive GT emblem, although very minor, of course, he didn't get that. The tires, didn't get that, obviously. Anything that he promised he would get, he didn't get. And the thing that initially pissed me off to no end, and I just thought was so strange, was the interior. It wasn't tan. It's brown. The interior of this car is clearly brown in person. In photos, it looks tan. And the photos that he had were like he had the saturation turned up like all the way. The car looked absolutely beautiful in the photos. But if you look now, looking back on it, you can see it. But if you look closely in the photos of this car initially, it looks bright tan. And the thing is, that was an option for this car. Typical Ferrari tan, whatever the name of that leather is. I'm gonna put it on the screen or just put up a picture of it. That tan, that was the tan I thought this car was. One of the things that really got me worried though personally, and it made me think that I was gonna have to claim the car as stolen because I already mentioned I told the dealer just put the title in the car because he said he was gonna FedEx it to me and God knows I didn't think he was going to. Well, he didn't do that. So I was relying on him to overnight it from FedEx and actually get the car, get the title to me because if I don't have the title, I can't register the car. So there was probably, I'd say, 2 weeks after receiving the car that I drove it around with just, different plates on it, essentially no plates, because I wanted to drive the car. And the guy hadn't sent me the title. And I kept texting him like, dude, I need the title to the car. Like I didn't threaten him, I didn't threaten to, claim the car is stolen. Like I was this close, like that would have been like the next text. But thankfully, after the storm had cleared, and when I say cleared, I mean it missed, he finally texted me back and like with the picture of the thing being actually shipped. Also, when I got the car, I texted James and I told him, the car drives nice. And, this is my way of kind of leading into the, hey, so remember the tires you owe me and the emblem you owe me and all that other stuff that I know you're not going to cover, but wishful thinking, I'm going to harangue you anyway about it. Could you send that stuff? Could you get it through? And he's like, yeah, I'll get it to you, no problem. Let's reconnect. I don't remember, I think we were getting close to a week and he said he'll give me a call, the next day. And, well, to this day, he has not responded to any of my text messages. In fact, in typical car dealer fashion, he has renamed his brand, his LLC. But he wasn't smart enough to do it the right way, which kind of makes me laugh. Originally, his name was Imports. Well, now he works under the name Autos. And it's funny because, his name on, in fact, I'm looking at his website now. I mean, besides changing the background, it's still the same. Some of the cars that were on his website when I bought my car are still on here. They've been sitting for a while. That's not good. But anyway, that's all I've got. You're gonna see a lot more of this on the channel, as I mentioned. Thank you guys for watching if you have this far. If you would like to talk to Mr. ask him about purchasing one of his ship boxes he has for sale. You can reach him at, this is his personal number, by the way, because the number that you dial that goes to his office or mother, whoever, that's not the right number. And that is all I'm allowed to show you, because if I show you what comes next, we're gonna get taken down by YouTube. It's what got this video originally taken down from YouTube to begin with. 52,000 of you already know exactly what I'm talking about. For those who don't, however, this video was uploaded not too long ago, a couple weeks ago. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment below. Let me know if you have any similar experiences or stories with dealers. I'm always interested in reading them. And subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video. Check out our merch store. And with that being said, we'll see you in the next one.